Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, The Rock. Global icon, right? Walking into a federal courtroom.
And the scene described, it wasn't just unexpected, it was shocking. His face wasn't the movie star face.
No, not at all. Sources described it as broken, vulnerable, even scared. This wasn't a press junket.
Definitely not. The whole courtroom, already tense, just froze.
Yeah.
People who'd seen stars testify before, they knew this was different.
It cracked open, is how some put it. The Rock persona, gone.
Completely gone. He looked haunted, hollowed out. That famous intensity in his eyes, it wasn't confidence this time. It was something heavy.
And he wasn't carrying papers, just the weight of whatever he was about to say. You could feel it.
And Diddy's reaction, Sean Combs.
He stiffened. Right there beside his lawyers, they seemed caught off guard, whispering.
But the prosecutor...
Oh, they knew. Exchanged glances, holding this testimony back, keeping Johnson's involvement quiet until this very moment.
Yeah.
This was the bombshell.
You could tell they thought it would change everything.
Absolutely. So Johnson takes the stand, hesitates, hands on the railing, looks around the room, judge, gallery, jury, then towards Combs.
And his voice.
Low, gravelly, full of emotion, barely held back. He says, I don't want to be here, but I have to be.
Wow.
Yeah. I've lived with something eating away at me for almost 20 years. I'm still scared, but I'm more scared of staying silent.
The whole room must have held its breath.
Total silence. He's sworn in, sits down, and then he says, voice a bit steadier but still raw, you all know me as The Rock, the guy who never breaks, but I'm about to break now.
Intense.
He goes on, I need everyone to understand this isn't just about Sean Combs, it's about how he got away with it for so long.
On the stage.
And then, lips trembling apparently, I was one of them. One of the ones who thought playing along meant survival. I played along, and I paid a price no one ever saw.
And just like that, the focus shifts. He's talking about his early days, his Hollywood rise.
Exactly. Encounters that were way beyond just networking. So our mission in this deep dive is clear. Unpack what Dwayne Johnson said under oath. Based on these sources, we're exploring those moments, these initiations he described, and the system he claims was orchestrated.
Okay, let's get into it. The testimony starts back in 2001, right?
Yeah, 2001.
Yeah.
He's making that leap from wrestling. The Scorpion King just hit. He described himself as hungry, ambitious,
but naive.
Totally naive about how Hollywood really worked outside the ring.
And that's when Diddy enters the picture.
Right. Johnson called him a guardian angel, a connector, someone who just seemed to have all the keys, you know.
Made sense at the time, probably.
He said he didn't question it when Diddy wanted to talk off the record. Just figured it was standard industry stuff.
Some invitations followed, parties.
Exclusive gatherings, yeah. Mansions in L.A., Miami. But initially, he said they felt pretty chill.
Like actual networking.
Champagne, handshakes, meeting producers, execs, and everyone kept saying Diddy's the guy, stick with Diddy.
But then things started to feel off.
That's what he testified. The energy shifted. It stopped feeling like networking and started feeling more like, well, a test.
A test? How so?
Diddy started asking these weirdly intense questions like, are you down for greatness? Would you bleed for it?
Whoa. Okay. How did Johnson react?
Trying to laugh it off, you know, like it was just over-the-top industry talk.
But Diddy wasn't joking.
Nope. Serious face. Johnson said the discomfort was immediate. Something felt wrong.
And it escalated from there into these favors.
That's what Johnson called them. Being asked to show up places at really specific odd hours.
Like that Bel Air house example.
Exactly. Told to arrive at 2:13 a.m., specifically 2:14 a.m., because that's when real decisions get made.
Okay, that's just bizarre.
Right. The implication was clear this timing mattered. It was part of some hidden game.
So he goes at 2:13 a.m.
He does, and he's the only one there for over an hour.
Just waiting.
Just waiting. Then a group arrives, all silent, all in identical black suits, no talking allowed.
Sounds creepy.
He described it as feeling like a cult waiting for its leader.
And then Diddy shows up.
Finally.
Yeah.
Lights go down low, and this looped audio starts playing from hidden speakers.
Diddy's voice.
Yeah, asking over and over, are you worthy? Are you ready? Would you eat what I feed you?
Man, what was going through Johnson's head?
Confusion, mostly. Trying to rationalize it. Maybe it's performance art. Eccentric showbiz stuff.
Trying to make it make sense.
But his gut, he said, was screaming that this was wrong.
So that leads into what he called the first test.
The first big one, yeah. Diddy asks him for a private meeting. Undisclosed location outside L.A.
Johnson must have hesitated.
He said he had a bad feeling, But his publicist told him this could be the meeting that changes your life.
Ugh. And Johnson said on the stand,
Looked right at the jury, said, turns out he was right. It changed everything, just not how I thought it would.
and that's when the mood in the court really shifted.
Dramatically, from stunned silence to, like, actual horror.
Because that's when he mentioned
The monkey brains. He paused for a long time before saying it. Said he'd never told anyone. Not friends, not family.
I can't even imagine. How did he describe getting there?
Blindfolded drive, outskirts of L.A. somewhere. Driver silent, just turned up the music. Then escorted by 2 men into a dark room.
What was the room like?
Candlelit, draped in black cloth, red lanterns on the floor. Felt very ritualistic.
And people were there?
5 silent men in suits around a low table, and Diddy at the head, laughing calmly, holding this crystal goblet with some dark liquid,
Then the tray comes out.
brought by a man in a white robe,
Okay.
placed right in front of him. Cover comes off.
And it's burnt.
Raw monkey brain, still steaming, he said. Wet, trembling, no seasoning, just that.
God. And Diddy says...
Johnson's voice broke, recounting this. Diddy says, everyone who's made it ate, everyone who didn't vanished. Then tells the silent man to just stare at Johnson. Let him feel the pressure.
Did he try to leave?
He did. Got up, went to the door, locked. He asked if it was a joke, a prank, some kind of ritual. Tried to laugh. Nobody laughed back.
Then Diddy hands him the spoon.
Leans in close
Ugh.
and says the line, Hollywood is not about talent. It's about obedience.
And Johnson was crying on the stand at this point.
Yes. Describing feeling terrified, humiliated, completely alone, shaking hands, lifts the spoon, bites down. Said he doesn't remember the taste, just the sounds, the room laughing, the chewing. Then silence.
How long did he have to sit there?
30 minutes while they watched him finish it.
And after?
Diddy stands up, claps, and says, welcome to level 2.
Level 2? What does that even mean?
Exactly. Johnson looked at the jury, voice heavy, said he walked out feeling like part of him died. Not because of what he ate.
But because of what he gave up, his
He
integrity.
gave up to eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The courtroom was dead silent. This testimony, it frames it as this is how far people get pushed when silence is the price.
So this wasn't just a one-off horror show. He saw it as conditioning.
Looking back, yes. Psychological conditioning.
Yeah.
Designed to strip away his autonomy, make him compliant, dependent.
And things changed after that, how he was treated.
He said they treated him differently, like I was one of them now, but always testing him subtly, sometimes not so subtly, making sure he'd stay quiet, obey.
Like the desert retreat thing.
Yeah, he gets invited to what sounds like a business retreat. Secluded desert estate.
Yeah.
Shows up, no agents, no execs,
Those other entertainers.
a handful. Some famous, some starting out, all looking just as uncomfortable as he felt.
What were the conditions like?
Isolated rooms, no windows, phones taken away, loud, monotonous music blaring for hours, food delivered randomly,
Weird. And they had tasks.
memorizing strange scripts,
Yeah.
chanting affirmations about surrendering to a higher power of success, only speaking when spoken to.
Sounds like some kind of cult initiation almost.
He first thought maybe it's intense training, an eccentric workshop, but then it hit him.
It wasn't about performance.
It was about submission, confusing fear with loyalty, pain with progress. That's how he saw it.
Yeah. Why didn't he say something then? Did he explain that?
He reflected on that, questioned his own sanity, worried people would dismiss him. But he said he saw it in the other's eyes.
That shared look.
Yeah, that unspoken thing, trapped in the same nightmare. Together, but isolated.
And the effect on him personally?
Huge. Lost sleep, became paranoid, doubted himself, who he was becoming, felt like he was being repurposed, molded.
By unseen hands.
His words. Control wasn't through chains. It was through silence, confusion, and control.
Which brings us to the machine behind the curtain. After these obedience trials, opportunities started pouring in.
Suddenly, yeah, flooding in. Roles he wasn't even considered for before.
And people told him.
Diddy vouched for you,
Wow.
was the line. At first he said he was just grateful, didn't question the why.
Until that studio head meeting.
Right, where the exec basically said, forget talent. We hear you're someone who plays the game. That's all that mattered.
Wow. So playing the game meant obedience.
That's how he interpreted it. And when he tried pushing back, questioning contract terms,
Warnings.
options could vanish, need to stay on good terms with certain people, he realized these weren't offers. They felt like assignments.
And Diddy's influence wasn't just music.
Far beyond it, according to Johnson. Investments, relationships across industries, favors owed everywhere. The unspoken rule was clear. Cross him, you could get blacklisted.
He gave an example, didn't he? Declining an invite.
Declined one late-night gathering. Next week, pulled from a major project he was about to sign.
That's a direct consequence. Chilling.
Made it crystal clear. Silence wasn't just expected, it was mandatory.
Even his own team managers, lawyers they knew.
He said they knew where the lines were. Nobody wanted to risk anything by questioning Diddy.
So he felt like a puppet.
Strings pulled by these invisible alliances. Fear, favors, secrets, holding it all together. You learn fast, he said, that power operates in the whispers, the depths, not out in the open.
Then came the turning point, when he felt he saw too much.
Yeah, this event at a luxury estate. Hollywood Hills. Supposedly a screening, networking.
But it wasn't.
He knew right away it wasn't. Dimly lit, heavy security, phones taken, masks handed out.
For anonymity.
Felt less like a party, more like someone else's initiation, he said.
And he saw things that disturbed him.
Walked the perimeter, felt uneasy, saw people he admired, actors, musicians behaving strangely, not celebrating, but looking lost, trying to prove something or hide something.
And the specific thing that hit him hardest.
Seeing a younger, well-known actor in a hallway, crying, trembling, clutching a drink.
Did Johnson talk to him?
Asked if you okay. The actor's response, Johnson testified, was devastating. They told me this is what it takes.
Oh, wow. That's heartbreaking.
That was the moment for Johnson. He left early. The night the glamour cracked, he said. He saw the machinery underneath.
Went home realizing.
Realizing his own position. He'd been protected, given opportunities, yeah, but at what cost? He wasn't invited because they liked him.
He was useful.
Useful.
Huh.
And he'd proven he could stay silent.
He got emotional on the stand talking about this.
Choked up. Said, seeing that young actor reminded him of himself years before the fear, the shame. He looked at the judge and said, that was the night I decided. If anyone ever asked me what I saw, I wouldn't lie.
And on the stand, he was keeping that promise.
Exactly. The courtroom was just locked onto him. He then addressed the big question. Why stay silent? Especially people with platforms.
And his answer?
Plain and simple. Because it's terrifying.
Yeah.
He talked about that early career belief. Survival means keep moving, keep smiling, don't question the powerful.
Don't ruffle feathers, don't name names.
Right. The fear was losing everything you'd built. His silence wasn't guilt, he stressed. It was fear, retaliation, blacklisting, being labeled difficult.
And it wasn't always direct threats.
Sometimes it was just watching people disappear. Roles dry up, calls stop, contracts vanish. He mentioned other actors who vanished after leaving that circle. Said they weren't crazy, just
Tired.
tired of pretending, tired of being owned.
And the internal cost,
Yeah.
anxiety, isolation.
Huge. Feeling like part of something you never chose. Knowing leaving means burning bridges no one will rebuild for you.
And questioning if just surviving made him complicit.
That was powerful. Was I complicit just by surviving it? He then nodded to Cassie Ventura's team, said seeing her come forward changed everything. Reminded him silence protects the wrong people.
You could feel a shift in him then, on the stand.
Yeah, the sources describe him sitting taller, speaking not just as the Rock, but as someone changed. He pushed back on the idea that success makes you untouchable.
Said it's the opposite.
The higher you climb, the harder it is to speak the truth. That conflict between his strong public image and his private powerlessness.
Couldn't talk about it because it didn't fit the image.
Exactly. Admitted he stayed silent for years, the cost felt too high. But recently, with more survivors speaking out, his perspective shifted. Silence felt less like self-preservation.
And more like betrayal.
Betrayal. He shared that story about the young fan saying, "You're the guy who never quits."
And that stuck with him.
Made him feel like he had quit. On his younger self, his principles, others still trapped.
So his reason for testifying?
Wiped away a tear, apparently. I'm not testifying to cancel someone. I'm here because I've been silent long enough. Didn't want anyone looking up to him thinking silence is strength. It was about accountability.
And a message to those in power.
We see you now. You're not invisible anymore.
Then the direct confrontation, turning to face Combs.
The tension must have been incredible. Calm conviction, though. I want to say this to you man to man because I've carried it for far too long.
And the core message.
You made me believe I had to sacrifice myself to succeed, that I had to surrender my integrity just to be allowed in the room. And I believed it. Shook his head, apparently. Eyes locked on Combs.
Powerful.
But that wasn't power. That was fear disguised as influence.
And he said he was speaking for others, too.
For those still suffering in silence, who were told they had no choice, that dignity and dreams couldn't coexist in this business.
In his final declaration to Combs.
Paused, then defiant. You don't get to define my legacy. Not anymore.
Then he steps down.
Final words echoing. It ends here, with the truth.
He left, sources say, not as a victim, not just a headline.
But as someone reclaiming his story. No longer afraid, no longer silent. And you felt, reading these accounts, that something in Hollywood really shifted in that moment.
But he wasn't quite done. He paused before leaving.
Paused at the door, turned back. One more thing on record.
But was it?
Said his story wasn't just about him or stardom or scandals. It was about the people who never get to sit in that chair.
The ones who didn't survive, still stuck.
Exactly. Terrified no one will believe them. He addressed the whole culture that enabled the silence. Hollywood built on the myth that power justifies abuse, that success demands unquestioning sacrifice.
And that myth is breaking.
Breaking now, he said. Not with rage, but with truth.
He reflected on his own fear again.
I stayed quiet, he stated, because I was afraid I'd lose everything. But the truth is, I never had anything if I didn't have myself.
Wow. Quite a statement.
Apparently, there was a murmur of support from the gallery then.
And his very final message. A signal.
Nodded one last time. A clear signal. To anyone out there watching, still wondering if it's safe to speak up, let this moment be your signal. The silence is over. We're not afraid anymore.
And then he walked out.
Yeah. Not swarmed by handlers, just a man who'd said his piece. And for once, it felt like the system built on control didn't know how to respond to that kind of truth.
This deep dive into his testimony, it really exposes a system, doesn't it? Control through access, favors, secrets. It's not just Hollywood.
Absolutely not. You see it anywhere unchecked power exists. It makes you, the listener, think about that immense pressure to stay silent when your whole life, your dreams, feel like they're on the line.
It really highlights the courage it takes, speaking truth to that kind of power, especially when the stakes are so high.
It's a reminder, isn't it? Sometimes real strength isn't just enduring the silence. It's finding your voice, reclaiming it, even when you're still terrified.